Tonight, several breaking stories, the horrific pictures coming in, the deadly bus crash flipping on the interstate. Tonight, the driver has just been charged. 2 adults killed, more than 50 others injured. Several children rushed to the hospital. Also breaking tonight, authorities just moments ago revealing more tanks have gone up in flames tonight. The inferno growing at this hour and the new warnings. The major headline breaking involving Robert Kraft. Will the billionaire owner of the New England Patriots take the offer? Prosecutors offering Kraft a plea deal tonight, but what he must acknowledge and what Kraft would also have to do. The state of emergency growing and the rescues tonight, more than 80 cities now, 70 counties in Nebraska alone. Several states underwater, and there is more rain on the way. Amazon chief Jeff Bezos, who leaked those nude photos to the Inquirer, and how much were they paid? What the Wall Street Journal is now reporting tonight. President Trump going after Kellyanne Conway's husband, who has been an outspoken critic of the president. And Kellyanne Conway is asked, does she share her husband's concerns? The high school basketball player kept off the court, out of school, because he never got vaccinated for chickenpox. Is he putting students at risk? The garbage truck scare in flames and headed straight for a home. The talk show host and what she revealed today about addiction. And there is news tonight on that popular actor who suddenly died. Authorities now revealing what was behind it.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Tuesday night. We have a lot to get to, and we begin tonight with those new charges after a deadly bus crash, a charter bus flipping over on the interstate. That bus driver has now been charged just a short time ago. The horrific images from the scene. 2 dead, more than 50 injured, many of them children, rushed to the hospital. The bus flipping on a foggy I-95 exit ramp in Virginia. The bus landing off the road and on its side. Many remain in the hospital at this hour. The passengers were traveling from Florida up to New York, and ABC's David Curley leads us off.
This bus on its side filled with horror early this morning when in the fog,
I have multiple injuries.
It careened off an I-95 exit ramp near Richmond. Children among the 57 on board.
Small girl, dislocated knee, several subjects bleeding.
2 people were killed.
We're going to have people stuck underneath the bus.
It's like I'm in the spin cycle in somebody's dryer. You know, the bus is just flipping.
From a mass casualty event to a local disaster.
We did think about some needs for a medevac, but due to the fog, we knew there was no way for them to deploy that unit.
Nearly everyone on the bus was taken to a local hospital. One survivor telling the local paper it was like a roller coaster when the bus, on a trip from Orlando to New York, rolled over several times at 5:30 in the morning. Police say the 40-year-old driver from Staten Island is tonight charged with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter.
I just want to get home. Just want to get home.
Let's get to David Curley with us live tonight. He covers transportation for us. And David, you've learned more on this investigation. The driver not only has now been charged, but police now say speed was in fact a factor.
Speed, and police say that exit is prone to having accidents, David. And we have learned from federal officials that this bus company has a good safety record. This is its first major accident. David Curley leading us off again tonight. David, thank you. And as we were on the air here last night, we took you to that dangerous inferno out of control. And tonight, authorities just a short time ago near Houston revealing more tanks are now on fire tonight. 8 tanks now blazing, 2 more exploding into flames today when firefighters briefly lost water pressure. Tonight, of course, the concern now growing for families in the path of that billowing smoke and debris actually landing in their yards now. ABC's Marcy Gonzalez again tonight.
Tonight, those towering flames burning out of control at this chemical plant for a 3rd day.
It is evolving. It is a dangerous situation.
Today, debris falling into neighborhoods.
They look almost like a lump of charcoal.
Officials closely monitoring air quality, insisting it is still at safe levels. The wind carrying that huge plume right towards Houston, but officials say that smoke is 4,000 feet in the air, high enough off the ground, they say, to not cause any health problems. But Jennifer Rosas says she and her 74-year-old mother are already feeling the effects, so much so they've had to block off the windows of their home with plastic.
Because my eyes are so red and burning, I have to sleep with a washcloth on my face. Mom's throat started getting worse. She started developing nosebleeds. And so I thought, this can't be normal.
The company that owns this plant has set up a hotline for anyone impacted, now offering an emotional apology to the community.
This isn't an event we wanted or planned.
Marcia Gonzalez joins us live again tonight from outside that plant. And Marcia, you've been talking to those concerned residents really all day about the air quality, but local authorities still saying the air is safe tonight?
Yeah, they say it is still safe for now, David, but people here are still very cautious. The schools reopened today, but teachers were told to keep students indoors because of this. And now fire officials are saying they don't know how much longer this could keep burning. David?
Marcia Gonzalez tonight. Marcy, thank you. There is also a breaking headline tonight involving the billionaire owner of the New England Patriots, Robert Kraft. Prosecutors now offering a plea deal, but what he would have to acknowledge and what Kraft would have to do. Prosecutors offering that deal in the last 24 hours. Kraft would have to admit guilt, and that's not all. Here's ABC's Victor Akendo in Florida.
Tonight, Florida prosecutors offering to drop soliciting prostitution charges against billionaire New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft. The deal offered to Kraft and 24 other men would carry several requirements. Kraft would have to acknowledge he would have been found guilty at trial of soliciting a prostitute, take an educational class on the dangers of prostitution, perform 100 hours of community service, pay $10,000 in fines, and submit to an STD test.
The question was, does the video contain Mr. Kraft inside receiving the alleged acts? The answer to that is yes.
Kraft and nearly 200 other men were arrested in a sweeping prostitution ring last month involving several spas in Florida. Police say the 6-month sting operation found evidence the women were victimized by spa owners. Authorities claim they found indications the women were living on the premises in unhealthy conditions and that owners of the spa brought them over from Asia. The arrests exposing the dark underworld of human trafficking.
This is not about lonely old men or victimless crimes. This is about enabling a network of criminals to traffic women into our country for forced labor and sex.
Just after the charges were announced, a spokesperson for Kraft said in a statement, quote, "We categorically deny that Mr. Kraft engaged in any illegal activity."
Let's get right to Victor Akendo, who's been following this case from the start. And Victor, this deal would mean those misdemeanor charges would go away along with any possible jail time. Are we hearing anything tonight from the Patriots owner?
David, we've reached out. No word from Robert Kraft tonight. Although he would not have a criminal record, he could still face punishment from the NFL. According to league policy, owners are held to a higher standard than players. David?
Victor, thank you. We're going to turn now to the dangerous weather tonight. The state of emergency, the rescues, those families on rooftops with flood warnings from the Dakotas all the way down to the Gulf Coast tonight. More rain now coming. More than 80 cities and 70 counties are underwater in Nebraska alone. The flooding has been deadly. ABC's Gio Benita is taking us inside the devastation tonight in Nebraska.
Tonight, the historic floodwaters inundating communities, damaging hundreds of homes already, are on the move. After those dramatic chopper rescues in Nebraska, residents in northwest Missouri are bracing for impact. In St. Joseph, they've filled more than 100,000 sandbags already.
It's a dirty, nasty job. It's hard work.
The Missouri River is expected to reach its highest level there since 2011. This as we see new images of the devastation the fast-moving icy waters left behind in Nebraska. Rivers breached at least a dozen levees in Nebraska, Iowa, and Missouri, and bridges weren't spared either. Just take a look at this one, destroyed by those floodwaters. Repairing public property in this state could cost more than $500 million. Agricultural losses could be double that. Vice President Mike Pence surveying the damage in the flood zone today. Southeast of Sioux City, Iowa, the Rose family is among those now cleaning up.
I don't know if we're going to rebuild because it's going to cost a lot.
Volunteers are helping them salvage whatever they can.
Gio's back with us live tonight. He's in Douglas County, Nebraska, and we took note of that number today, Gio, that about 200 miles of levees have been breached because of this flooding. 200?
That's right, David. And the peak flood season actually starts in May. It takes about 6 months to fix those levees, so they may not be done by then. And of course, you have all of this property damage. You see it everywhere. There is so much work to be done here, David.
All right, Gio, our thanks to you again tonight. In the meantime, we turn now to Amazon chief Jeff Bezos tonight. And this question, who leaked those nude photos to the Inquirer and how much were they paid? What the Wall Street Journal is now reporting tonight. And here's ABC's Lindsay Davis.
Tonight, the question of who leaked explicit photos that billionaire Jeff Bezos sent his mistress Lauren Sanchez may have been answered. According to a Wall Street Journal investigation, the National Enquirer paid $200,000 to Sanchez's brother Michael, who then sold Bezos' secrets, including those intimate texts and photos. According to the Journal, David Pecker, the publisher of the Enquirer, was initially uneasy about proceeding with such an explosive story, anxious the powerful Bezos would sue. But ultimately, the paper reports he approved the deal. And shortly thereafter, Bezos, who is reportedly worth $137 billion, accused AMI, the publisher of the National Enquirer, of blackmail and extortion, claiming AMI threatened to publish the embarrassing photos unless he stopped his investigation into just how the tabloid obtained the text messages. In response, Michael Sanchez, a Hollywood talent agent, says that he will not dignify the claims, adding only that the Journal's reporting is based on old rumors. David?
Lindsay Davis tonight. Lindsay, thank you. We move on now to the White House. President Trump's new war of words, and one of his most trusted counselors, Kellyanne Conway, has now been caught in the middle of this very public feud. The president today blasting Conway's husband, George Conway, calling him a, quote, total loser. It came after George Conway very publicly questioned the president's mental health. And Kellyanne Conway was asked, does she share her husband's concern? ABC's Cecilia Vega at the White House.
The president today taking aim at Kellyanne Conway's husband, calling George Conway a total loser. It comes after he questioned the president's mental fitness for office. Conway saying it's getting worse and that Americans should be thinking seriously now about Trump's mental condition and psychological state. The well-known conservative lawyer and frequent Trump critic even posted pages from the American Psychiatric Association manual highlighting disorders for narcissistic and antisocial personalities. Reporters asking Kellyanne Conway if she shares her husband's concerns.
No, I don't share those concerns, and I have 4 kids, and I was getting them out of the house this morning.
Conway concedes his wife is not happy when he publicly trolls her boss.
I don't think she likes it. But I've told her I don't like, the administration. So it's even, it's one of these things.
Today, Conway told the Washington Post the mendacity, the incompetence, it's just maddening to watch, saying he tweets about President Trump, quote, so I don't end up screaming at her about it.
All right, Cecilia Vega with us live again tonight. Cecilia, the president taking aim at Kellyanne Conway's husband. He, of course, took aim at the president. But Cecilia, we know the president also going after the late John McCain. Meghan McCain in the last 24 hours defending her father, who she reminded everyone passed away nearly 7 months ago. Well, the president was asked today, why still go after him? Let's listen.
I'm very unhappy that he didn't repeal and replace Obamacare, as you know. I was never a fan of John McCain, and I never will be. Thank you very much, everybody.
Cecilia, you've covered this for some time. The president making it clear again today, even after McCain's death, he's not letting this go.
Yeah, David, and this one goes back a really long time, back to the campaign when then candidate Donald Trump said that John McCain wasn't a war hero. You'll also remember that President Trump has said he's a counter-puncher, but in this case, David, he is fighting against someone, as you just reminded us, that Meghan McCain says has been dead for nearly 7 months.
Cecilia Vega with us again tonight. Thank you, Cecilia. Next this evening to the president's former personal attorney and fixer, Micheal Cohen. And what we learned today, newly unsealed search warrants now reveal just how long he was a target of Robert Mueller's team and what they were after. ABC's Pierre Thomas now.
Newly unsealed documents show Robert Mueller had his sights on Micheal Cohen much earlier than was known. A full 9 months before the FBI raid on his home, office, and hotel room.
Mr. Cohen, why do you think they raided?
The FBI obtaining a search warrant for Cohen's emails in July 2017, investigating several possible crimes, including what they call a scheme to defraud multiple banks. Cohen, $22 million in debt, failed to disclose he was aggressively raking in $2.8 million in payments from a number of corporate giants, some based overseas, on the promise of an insider's advice on how to deal with a Trump White House. Investigators also looking into campaign finance violations, allegedly involving Donald Trump. The details of what they call the illegal campaign contribution scheme, nearly 20 pages long, fully redacted. The investigation apparently still active.
Pierre, news on Micheal Cohen tonight, but there's also news today that could give us a hint on how long this Mueller investigation could last. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, we've learned he's staying at his post longer.
That's right, David. Rosenstein was expected to leave by mid-March, but we're now being told he may stay a few more weeks to help out with the Mueller report, which is being finished up and will be handed over to the new Attorney General, Bill Barr. David?
Pierre Thomas with us tonight. Thank you, Pierre. Now to the middle of the country and new developments tonight in the murder of a firefighter in Indiana, gunned down in front of his home. Authorities releasing 911 calls, including one from his wife, who now faces charges linked to the investigation. Here's Ariel Reshef.
Tonight, this newly released 911 call under scrutiny.
My husband just got shot.
A distressed wife telling a dispatcher her husband, 51-year-old Robbie Dorr, a veteran firefighter, has been fatally shot outside their Evansville, Indiana home.
All I saw was my husband's headlights pull into the driveway, and then I heard a bunch of popping.
Elizabeth Fox Dorr becoming a widow that night last month. But the day after her husband was laid to rest, she was arrested, charged with obstruction of justice and misinforming law enforcement.
The charges she's facing is for deleting a phone call from her phone and then not being honest with investigators when questioned about it.
That call, police say, was received before she dialed 911.
What type of car it was? You saw drive away? I did not see a car. I did not see a person. The only person I saw was my husband laying on the ground.
David, police say Fox Dorr is not a suspect in her husband's murder. She has pleaded not guilty to those other charges. David?
Ariel Reshef. Ariel, thank you. We turn overseas tonight into the massive humanitarian disaster in Mozambique. The government tonight confirming more than 200 people are dead, and the death toll could climb to more than 1,000 following that powerful cyclone. The storm hitting with winds up to 106 miles per hour. There is tonight here a high school student is now suing his school after being kicked off the court and out of school because he didn't get vaccinated for chickenpox. Here's ABC's Steve Osinsami on the debate.
18-year-old Jerome Kunkel is a senior and a basketball star at this Catholic high school in northern Kentucky, and he's suing his local health department because they won't let him back to class without a chickenpox vaccine. His objection to the shot is a common one, based on religious grounds.
As a Catholic, we believe that, abortion, it's wrong, morally wrong. And since that the vaccine's derived from aborted fetal cells, that obviously goes directly against that.
It is true that in the 1960s, cells obtained from two aborted fetuses were used to grow viruses that were developed into some of today's modern vaccines. But even the Vatican has decided that it's morally acceptable for Catholics to get these vaccines because they protect children. Kentucky health officials are underlining that they have 32 students out sick with the chickenpox right now at this one school, and say they're not letting any students who aren't vaccinated back to class until the outbreak is over.
The student who's suing says it's unfair because he can't play ball, but all sports and extracurricular activities at the school have been canceled too. David?
All right, Steve Osinsami, thank you. When we come back, index of other news into that runaway garbage truck engulfed in flames in Los Angeles, bearing down a hill in Monterey Park, stopping just short of a home right there. You could hear frantic neighbors there yelling, no injuries reported. Talk show host Wendy Williams has revealed her fight against addiction.
For some time now, and even today and beyond, I have been living in a sober house, and I never went to a place to get the treatment. I don't know how, except God was sitting on my shoulder.
Williams says she shared her story today to encourage others to seek help. We wish her well tonight. Tonight, an autopsy has revealed how actor Christophe St. John died. They say heart disease was the primary cause, alcohol a factor too. He spent 3 decades on The Young and the Restless. He was just 52 years old. When we come, finally tonight here, America Strong, the call that came in the middle of the night. The D'Agostino family of suburban Chicago, Mario and Mary, and their 6 children. Kevin D'Agostino was born with cystic fibrosis, a progressive genetic disease of the lungs. For the past 2 years, he has depended on oxygen, carrying a tank everywhere he went, even behind him right there at the pool. He was put on a lung transplant list, waiting 6 long months. Then, the call in the middle of the night. His parents wake him.
You're getting new lungs. No way. No way.
Hugging his mother, then his father.
You're getting new lungs.
The double lung transplant surgery was a success. And look at this, just 1 day later, up and walking.
This is his 3rd time around. My goodness. Fantastic.
Weeks later, coming home.
Oh, man, how's it feel?
And then it hits him. His mother, Mary, offering these words.
It speaks to his determination, and it speaks to his bravery, and it speaks to his strength.
The The whole neighborhood right there for Kevin, who waited for so long and who came home. What a young man, what a family, and what a remarkable gift from that donor family. Good night.